Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Om Agyanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitannamanoਭीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मायं ददाति स्वापदन्तिकं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadam aham vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, welcome everybody to the Wednesday program here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Also, welcome to our online audience. Today we're going to speak about the topic of life after initiation. Now, of course, if you haven't yet been initiated, you might think, how is this relevant to me? That is a valid question. Well, His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj has once asked me to give a seminar on this topic because oftentimes people aspire to get initiated and they think that when they actually achieve their desired goal of initiation, that then the job is over, the job is complete because they have been accepted now by a spiritual master and they have a spiritual name and they belong to some part of a spiritual community or family. And that happens in many cultures and traditions, that people have rites of initiation and rites of passage, and they have different names for them. And usually after that, it's a fast downhill race. As far as moral conduct, as aspirations, or as spiritual pursuit goes, usually the initiation is the highlight. It is the top level of performance that you will ever see in a mundane, neophyte, or materialistic follower of religious principles. So today's topic is life after initiation. First of all, what is initiation? To become initiated, it comes from the Latin word initius, which means to begin. So it is the beginning. It is not the end. It's not the end of our search, the end of our pursuit, but it is actually the beginning of something which is supposed to be eternal, because the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple is not a temporary thing. It is actually a long-term commitment. Now you might say eternal, that's a little more than I bargained for. That's a little longer than I expected. But those relationships on the spiritual level, they're actually eternal because they're not governed by time, place, and circumstance. So, to initiate, to become initiated in this process of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we all know the external requirements that are there given by our directive from our governing body commissioner, that you have to be following X amount of months, you have to have a recommendation by your temple president, you have to have chosen a spiritual master, the spiritual master has to have accepted you. But that is the formality, that is the externals. What we're trying to focus here is more, what is the relationship, how does the relationship develop, how does it mature, and how does it continue after initiation? Because oftentimes we have this saying that people, fall in love with a spiritual process or a spiritual master, but then after some time they again fall out of love. Because that is the nature of this world, that people become enamored by something, they think, ooh, this is very nice, this looks really wonderful, and then after a while, they're not so enamored, and their attention goes somewhere else. And we have seen that happen many times, that people show up and they're really fired up, we call it. They're really into it. But then after a while, they feel like, oh no, this is getting a little difficult, and maybe I'm not getting as much as I expected, and then they go somewhere else looking for more attention or, greener pastures. There's the saying, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Have you heard that before? But it's an optical illusion. Why is it an optical illusion? Because the cow, when she looks down, she sees dirt and grass, right? Because that's what you see when you look down. You have a reality check. You see there is dirt, there's rocks, and there's a bit of grass. But when you look further, what do you see? It's all green pasture, right? It looks beautiful. It looks very enticing. It looks very attractive. But if that cow would be on that other patch looking down on the ground, what would that cow see? Any ideas? Some dirt, some rocks, and a little bit of grass. And thus, that cow is moving, continuously moving, looking for greener pastures. And oftentimes, aspiring candidates for spiritual life have the same type of attitude. They come to a spiritual practice, and after a while, when things get a little difficult, then they think, oh, maybe there's a shortcut. Maybe there's an easier way. Maybe there is somebody who can give me this faster. Because we are here in Silicon Valley and people have little amount of time and little attention span. So it is very much en vogue, it is very much in fashion to try to find the quickest solution to the problem, right? And that goes for any kind of problem. But in spiritual life, the preliminaries are really important, which means we have to understand what is the right type of mentality, the right type of attitude that has to be there, first of all, in the disciple. Disciple comes from the Latin word discipulus, and it means conscious control over lifestyle. It means a disciple has to, first of all, introspect into his or her own heart and see, can I control my mind and my senses? Am I capable of following these rules? Can I do this for a prolonged period of time? So, Srila Prabhupada also, he gave the adjectives serious, sincere, and without ulterior motives. Sinceros, without wax. Because formerly the Masons, they would cover all the flaws with wax. So, but a Mason would not do that, was called sincere. He was without wax. He was not giving a nice gloss, but he was actually doing the right job. So to be sincere means to not be duplicitous. Sincerity means to be without duplicity. So that is what we are aspiring for. And it is explained in our Shastras by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anavilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavridam anukulyena shilanu krishnanu shilanu bhaktir uttama. Uttam bhakti is defined as being devoid of the tendencies of karma and gyan. Now, of course, we may say, I'm not a karmi, I'm not a gyani, I'm a bhakta, right? I'm a devotee. I'm here for bhakta. But has it ever happened to you that the thought crossed your mind? If I would, and I'm not looking at anybody particular, I have to look up, that if I just had a little bit more money, I could really serve Krishna better. I would buy a big temple in San Francisco, and I would, get all new Sankirtan vehicles, and I would do so many things. Has this thought ever crossed your mind? Not like obscene amount of money, not like 1 billion or something, but just like maybe 5 or 10 million, Just roughly like that, right? We would take care of retirement and a few devotional things, all right? So has this thought ever crossed your mind, or is it only me? Now I'm a vanaprastha, I have no business and no aspiration for any business. But some days you just get ideas, right? And you think that it can be fixed. It can be fixed by money. But it's not true, because bhakti is without any of these factors. Now sometimes also we may listen to some pravachan, we may hear some katha, and the speaker is very eloquent, and he's quoting Shastras, and he's speaking in very beautiful, poetic way. And then the thought sometimes crosses my mind, what if I just would be a little bit smarter? You know, not like these PhDs from Stanford and Berkeley, or IIT, Valas, you know, but just a little bit smarter, you know, just a little bit, you know, just Tora, you know, just chut, little bit smarter, just so I could remember what I just read in the book, you know, 5 minutes ago. But bhakti is not dependent on karma or gyan. Krishna is only attracted, he's only captivated by pure love, by pure devotion. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, we have very beautiful instructions on the process of bhakti from the Navayogendras to King Nimi. Do we have someone here? Okay, good. Thank you for saving us. So we will hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 3rd chapter, text 21 and onwards. Now this is Sage Prabhuda speaking to Maharaj Nimi, 11.3.21. And before, in text 18 to 20, he's summing up the entire problem of the material world. And he's in 3 verses. He gives 3 verses to analyze the problem. And then he gives 13 verses to give the solution. Usually in the material world, it's the other way around. 21. That's 11.3. Yes, that's it. So, and he's explaining that our predicament, our situation here in the material world is because of our attachment to sense gratification. That's why we're stuck here. That's why the living entity is bound and has to suffer in the cycle of samsara, going through the 8,400,000 species. And here he's starting to give the solution. So this is a very famous verse, and we'll chant together. First we say the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta. Chigyasu Shreya Uttamam. Shabde Pare Chanishnatam. Brahmani Upashamashrayam. Synonyms, please. Tasmad, therefore, Gurum, a spiritual master, Prapadyeta, one should take shelter of, Jigyasuhu, being inquisitive. Do you remember those 2 qualities that were for a person who wants to make spiritual advancement? We should look for people who are inquisitive and reasonable. Remember? Last time we gave class? Inquisitive and reasonable. That's required. Shreyaha. Shreyaha Uttamam. About the highest good. Shabde. In the Vedas. Pare. In the Supreme. Cha. And. Nishnatam. Perfectly knowledgeable. Brahmani, in these 2 aspects of the absolute truth. Upashama ashrayam, fixed in detachment from material affairs. Translation. Therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be bona fide spiritual masters. There's a very long purport that I'm not going to read because we will touch on it in a few aspects, and then we'll hear a few more verses. This word tasmad is very significant. Therefore, it is a conclusive statement saying this is the problem. Now, because of this, therefore, this is the solution. It's a very clear, logical chain of thought, how he's building up this case. And he's speaking about that the person who is serious in their desire, in the desire for what? For real happiness. We know there is two types of enjoyment in this world. It's called the real happiness, ananda, which is coming from the soul, the spiritual happiness, and then there is called chapala sukha, sukha, sukhe dukkhe same kritva, sukh. It's just the fleeting, the temporary, the sensual perception of happiness. That is fleeting. It comes and goes. Someone who is seeking for real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. It's a pretty straightforward, a pretty clear injunction that is given in many Vedic literatures, but here it is very, very beautifully explained by sage Prabhuda, and also he's explaining what are the characteristics, what are the qualities of a real spiritual master. Rupa Goswami also in Nectar of Instruction is pointing out in Upadeshamrita, Vacha vegam manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam udarapasta vegam, etan vegan yovishaheta dhira, sarvam apimam pritivim sashishyat, that somebody who can control the 6 urges. What are those 6 urges? Vacha, the urge to speak. Did you ever have the urge to speak? Very much so, right? It's an urge. It's something that's very strong. The urge to speak. Vacha vegam, manasa, the mind. Great urge to go places and think about many things. Very hard to control the mind. Krodha, anger. Anger tends to get out of control, out of hand. If somebody commits a crime and they can prove that he acted under the influence of anger, he will get, an easier judgment because they can show, okay, he wasn't in his clear mind, he wasn't in his clear faculties. Anger got the better of him. And then, again, jiva, the tongue, wants to eat all the time, continuously, even though you already eaten 5 times. Has it ever happened to you? You just had Sunday feast, right? And you're talking with your friends, and but then the tongue says, let me go and see if there is a little more of that, of that sweet, right? Just a little more. And then, when you arrive at the buffet, because the devotees have been cooking very generously, then it's not only a little bit more of your favorite sweet, but also there's a little more of, palak paneer, a little bit of spinach with curd. And then I can't just eat spinach with curd and sweet, right? It would not be very healthy, right? It's not good. It's not a good combination. So I need to take a little bit more rice and a little bit more of this. And all of a sudden you're walking away with your 3rd plate of prasadam. And the mind says, it's perfectly okay. It's Sunday, Prabhu, right? You have to eat up to your neck. What is that? Bengali? Kanta? Akanta. Up to the neck. You should eat prasad. So, the tongue continuously wants to eat. And then, of course, the belly is getting very full, and the genitals get agitated. So someone who can control these 6 urges, such a person is qualified to accept disciples all over the world. It's a very straightforward and clear description. Now here we have something higher, that a person who has taken full shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any material considerations and has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. That is a true spiritual master. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita also it is stated, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Tattvadarshi, such a person who has seen the truth, they can explain to you what is what. So we spoke a little bit about qualifications of a disciple. We spoke a little bit about qualifications of a guru. And you may say, good, fair, fine, but the problem comes when you put the two together. All hell breaks loose. There's some chemical reaction, right? Because usually, if we're just by ourselves, we think, I'm fairly content, I'm doing okay. But all difficulty and trouble in this world arises, how? By social interaction. And the same thing happens sometimes because of a mismatch in expectations. When the expectations do not match, then there is a very sure formula for frustration. So sometimes one person has one type of expectation, the other person has another type of expectation, but they somehow come together and they think, yeah, we can make it work. We'll figure it out. We'll make some business arrangement. We'll make some deal that both will be satisfied. But then eventually, things don't work out, and things break apart, and people move away, and there is some resentment, there is some feeling of dissatisfaction. So therefore, it's important that the expectations are clarified in the beginning, before one sits at the fire and takes initiation. So I'm going to share a few personal realizations and observations of my journey and my interaction with spiritual masters. And there's a saying, if the shoe fits, wear it. So just extract the essence and try to get inspired and absorb something for your own spiritual life. Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj has once said that the people who are closest to me, I give very little attention to them. Now, how to understand this statement? The people who are closest to me, I give very little attention to them. Like in every organization, you have different types of circles, You have a certain image that people have of an organization or a person. Then when you get a little closer, you have some more clearer idea. Then when you start to interact and engage with that person, then you get a more clearer idea. But when you're actually very close, very intimate, then it's a different type of a relationship and of an interaction. One time, I was in the room with my spiritual master, after I had not seen him for quite a while, and I was doing something to serve him, and he was sitting on the desk, and I was sitting there doing something. And periodically I was looking up and looking at him, but he was not paying attention. And so after a while, I was keep on looking up and I was thinking like, hey, I'm here, Hey, I'm here, okay? Like, I'm your disciple. And we haven't seen each other for 6 months now? So at least I need some acknowledgement or some smile, some words of praise, some welcome. Nothing. Not even a nod. Nothing. And so my mind was becoming exceedingly disturbed and agitated that I'm doing seva here, and I'm also a person, I have emotions and I have needs, so why is there no reciprocation here? And so the mind was getting worked up, but after a while, I got a realization, a very profound realization, and it struck me, it hit me actually, that this is very good. This is very good. This proves that I've been accepted in the inner circle. If you want to pay the price to enter the inner circle, that is the price. That you may not be treated as a guest or as a spectator, but if you're treated sometimes with chastisement, sometimes with what we call tender, loving neglect, if you're treated in such a way, it means that you're actually accepted into the inner circle. So, of course, oftentimes we want to have what they say, the cake and eat it. We want to have the best of both worlds, right? We want to be part of the inner group, but then we also want to be treated like a guest, like a newcomer, comforted, patted, and entertained, etc. But it doesn't work like that. So, Srila Prabhupada, in his own spiritual life, he commented that I've only met my Gurudev 10 or 12 times, but there has not been one moment where he was not present in my life. He's always standing right next to me, looking over me, guiding me, and giving me instructions. So there is Vani and Vapu. The Vapu, the physical form, is only temporarily manifest, and it is not always even appreciable. Because sometimes the Vapu may not interact in a way that we think, oh, this is what I need right now, or this is what I like right now. We'll get back to this just in a moment. But the Vani, the instruction of the spiritual master, is eternal, and it is always available. That's why Srila Prabhupada was so determined and focused in delivering his Bhaktivedanta purports, to deliver the message of Krishna and Shukadeva Goswami and Narad Muni and all the Mahajans, to make sure that the instructions were received. Bhakti is a personalist process, which means Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. And the Bhakta is the personal servant of these entities. So, there's a lot of personality, which means that there is personal likes and dislikes. Just like, for instance, I was trying to assist my spiritual master, but it was not easy, because if you're with a person who is cherishing solitude and who is fiercely independent, it's very difficult to be very close, physically very close with such a person. Because if a person cherishes solitude because they're sadhu, they like to be alone and be with nature and be absorbed in their meditation, there's not always room for that interaction and communication. And also, fiercely independent, every person has an individuality. Some people are very easygoing. They just go with whatever, with whatever people arrange for them. And other people, they're very headstrong. Other people, they're very independent. They just have their own mind and their own way of doing things. Just like Srila Prabhupada, one time, they asked him, why did he have this mark on his forehead? He had one, you probably won't see on the Murti, but if you look on the pictures and the photographs, you will see he had one little dent on his forehead. And he said, you want to know why he had that dent? Would you like to know? Yes. And one time he said, my father, he was very affectionate, Gaur Mohande. And Prabhupada, he dedicated the Krishna book to him because he was very, very fond of his father, who always prayed for him to become a devotee of Srimati Radharani and invited all the sadhus, and he hosted them and dined them. And so Gaur Mohan got Abhay a toy gun. And Abhay said, no, I need another one. Because I have two hands, I need two guns. And his father said, no, only one gun. One gun is enough. So Abhay, he lay on the floor, and he was kicking and beating his fists, and he's kicking his feet on the floor, and banging his head on the floor. And he said there was a little pebble, a little rock, and I hit my head, and it made that impression, and it's still there. And then he said, then my father got me the second gun. And then he said, I always got what I wanted. One time, when they were building the Queen Victoria railway station in Calcutta, there was scaffolding there, bamboo scaffolding. They said that they made a wager amongst friends. And Prabhupada said, I climbed the scaffolding all the way to the top. And one disciple said, oh, you were very fearless. You were very courageous then. And Prabhupada said, I am still fearless and very courageous now. I came to your country uninvited. Nobody invited me to come here. But I came. Because he had gotten that instruction from his spiritual master. At their first meeting in 1922, yes, in Calcutta, Ultadanga Junction, on the roof of the first Gaudiya Math building, just after paying his respects, while getting up, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw him, and he said, you're an intelligent young man, you should preach Mahaprabhu's message in the English-speaking language. This will be good for you, and it will be good for everybody else. First moment of association with his guru. He got the instruction for his whole life. And he took it to his heart. Now, Prabhupada just gotten married, he just had a son, he just got started in business and in family life, so he could not drop these responsibilities. So, 11 years later, he got initiated by his Gurudev. Took him 11 years. He never forgot his Guru. He always cultivated his devotional service. And then we know, as history progresses, different events took place. Now, sometimes we think initiation, this is it. This is the goal. This is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And if I get initiated, then, job is complete now. I have my name, and I'm part of the club. I made it. I'm now platinum member. This is for life. No one will take this away from me. But what does it mean to be a disciple? If we do not have the right attitude, if we do not have discipline, if we are only a fair-weather devotee who only shows up on a festival when there is a big, celebration. Just like we have different circles. We have many people, they have heard about Krishna. We have some people, they know there's a temple in Mountain View. We have some people, they actually show up on Janmashtami. 7, 8, sometimes more, 1,000. They actually come. And that's very nice, that's wonderful. But then we have some people, they show up when their guru is there. And that's very good. That's wonderful. But then we have some people, they actually show up for the Wednesday program, the Saturday program, the Sunday program. We have some people, they show up every day. They may watch online. We have some people, they're connected every minute, every moment. They never feel, okay, now is my time, okay? Like one time, Prabhupada, he finished chanting his rounds and he put these beads aside and then he told his secretary, now I can do any damn thing I want. And he was laughing, just to make a joke. So the point is, it's not that, okay, this much for Krishna and now comes my time. Now, we're getting really excited, right? No. But Krishna is present in every situation, in every circumstance, in every activity. So to feel that connection, that is a strong heart connection. That means we actually have faith. in Guru and Krishna. But that faith has to be earned through the process of devotional service, and the Acharyas have given us this method of bhakti by which we can actually develop this strong faith. Now some of you may think, oh, my Guru, he only comes for a short time, there's so many disciples, I never get to speak to him, I never get to spend time with him. But actually, that is a misconception. Because if we understand that bhakti is not a zip code, it is not a geographical location, it is not governed by the laws of time and space, you can interact with your spiritual master any moment, at any situation, at any point in time. So, and that is the heart connection. Just like one time Srila Prabhupada, he left a temple and the devotees were lamenting, and Srila Prabhupada said, there's nothing to lament. You are chanting Hare Krishna, I am chanting Hare Krishna. We're always connected through the sound vibration. If we believe that the holy name of Krishna is non-different from him, and that this transcendental sound vibration is enabling us to actually be connected with that spiritual dimension, then we will never be separated from Krishna and from our spiritual master. So this whole idea of separation, this whole idea of seeing things separate is actually an illusory concept. And it is created in the mind because we are dealing in this realm of time and space where we have all these deficiencies and all these inadequacies that we are so much distracted and disturbed by. Can we have the next verse, please? Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and worshipful deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciple should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity, and in such a faithful and favorable way that the Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple. Yeah, now people sometimes they ask, so what do you get? I mean, what's your goal? What do you achieve from all of this? One time, a dear friend of mine who is in the UK, he is distributing books there for a very long time, and he was speeding in the car. He was speeding because it was late at night and he wanted to get back to the temple very fast, so he was driving a little fast, and he saw some headlights behind himself, so he thought, why is this person giving me headlights? So he drove faster. And it was the cops. So anyway, they stopped him, they took him to the station, and then the next day, they put him in jail. The next day, he went before the judge. So they checked the vehicle, and the vehicle was filled with books, the vehicle was filled with money. It was after a week of Sankirtan, so he had so many things there, so much money there, and he was driving so fast. So the judge was a little perplexed. So who are you? And what, Vishwambar, what are you doing? So he was trying to explain that we're monks, we're spreading this mission, we're giving this. So the judge was asking, so what do you get? So what's your benefit in all this? What do you get out of this after all this hard work? And he said, me? What do I get out of it? They give me a cookie, you know? The judge said, what? A cookie? You get a cookie? He said, yeah, I get a cookie. And the judge said, okay, case dismissed, you know, just go, you know, like. I just read a beautiful story that I'd like to share of Jayananda Prabhu, who passed away on 1st of May. I don't know if you have followed the wonderful remembrances on Dandavats, but one that just really touched my heart was that Jayananda Prabhu, who was the temple president in San Francisco, he was also the car mechanic, he was also the janitor, he was also the Ratha Yatra man, the one who would collect the boga, the one who would take out the garbage. He was the one who did everything. He also drove a taxi cab in order to pay the rent for the temple. So he gave Prabhupada $5,000, practically his life savings, and Prabhupada was very touched by that. That was a lot of money back then, like $50,000 now. Even later on, when he had leukemia, cancer, he got some money for his treatment, but he gave it to Prabhupada because he said, it's not worth it, I'm not going to waste that money. And he just donated it to Krishna. So, but he was so frugal on himself that he used to go to the Salvation Army, like Goodwill store, and he would get, pants and shirts for very cheap. But one time, he went and he got a pant, and he put his old pants over it, and he got a shirt and he put his old shirt over it, and he just walked out of the store. But because there's so many holes in his shirt and in his pants, they caught him, and the police arrested him. He didn't pay the 50 cents for the pants and the 50 cents for the shirt. It was very cheap. So anyway, he got booked, and then he was brought before the judge. So the judge asked him, so guilty or not guilty? How do you plead? And he said, Your Honor, can I say something before you make your verdict? And the judge said, all right, what is it that you have to say? So he said, My honor, everything belongs to God, and I just can't spend God's money on myself. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And he started sobbing, and then the judge started crying, and then the cop started crying, and then the policeman who arrested him said, okay, I'll pay for the shirt and for the pants. Case dismissed. Okay, go. So, of course we cannot imitate these things, but the point that I'm trying to get at, that I'm trying to make is that a faithful disciple, what is his gift? What is it that he receives? Krishna, he gives himself to a person who claims no proprietorship in this world. What's that name of Krishna? Akinchana? Go? Akinchana Gochara, yes. Krishna is the property of those who claim nothing in this world to be their own. Well, I can just speak for myself. I'm not there yet. The word I, me, and mine still does appear sometimes in my vocabulary. Even though we have reduced our ahankar footprint in this world. But still, these concepts appear on our mental screen. So Krishna gives himself to a devotee who is a Akinchana Gochara, who is not claiming any proprietorship in this world. So what does it mean that we don't have any proprietorship? It doesn't mean that you do not own anything, but you're not claiming the proprietorship. There's a difference in that. You may have a house, a family, a car, you may have a kingdom, you may be the emperor of the world. But if you see that this is Krishna's property, this is his, and I am simply the servant, I'm simply here trying to use and facilitate everyone for Krishna's service, then there is no claim of proprietorship. Can we have the next verse, please? It's a very beautiful section in 11th canto. I highly recommend you read it yourself. The instruction of the Nava-yogendras to Maharaj Nimi, very beautiful verses which give very scientific instructions on the path of bhakti. A sincere disciple should learn to disassociate the mind from everything material and positively cultivate association with his spiritual master and other saintly devotees. He should be merciful to those in an inferior position to him, cultivate friendship with those on an equal level, and meekly serve those in a higher spiritual position. Thus he should learn to deal properly with all living beings. Just like in the first verse, spiritual masters in plural, so Vande Gurun, we should always see that there's a difference between a mission and a personality cult. A personality cult is when people are simply focused on one individual and they think this individual is God or godly or the representative of God, but there is nothing beyond this person. And they will go to great length to glorify and expand on that person. But if you ask, what about the process? What about the philosophy? What's behind it? Who was his teacher? Is there a lineage? Usually there is not much there. It's just somebody who, he's it. And that's all there is to it. Take it or leave it. But we are following the process of Guru Parampara. Evam Parampara praptam imam raja arsheo viduhu sakaline mahata yoganashta parantapa. This knowledge was handed down by the unbroken chain of disciplic succession. And we can study this Guru Parampara when we read Srimad Bhagavatam. And we see this lineage. Therefore, it is very important. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in due course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it is, appears to be lost. But then Krishna again, he reestablishes this science, and he again brings it back. Purport: it is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings, because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic persons, who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also, there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demonic, because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara, disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. So Srila Prabhupada is addressing the exact crucial problem and is giving the solution. That we cannot change the formula, we cannot tamper with it. So the point that I previously made is that we have to be sincere in our approach, in our pursuit of this process, and we have to acknowledge that there is individuality. Not only on our part, I'm an individual, but the spiritual master is also an individual. And as such, he has individual needs and desires and plans. And as a aspiring disciple, I should try to align my desires and my life with the desires and intentions of the spiritual master. Of course, there is Guru Sadhu Shastra. We have to make sure that things are aligned properly. But as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad comments in the famous Vyavasayatmika Buddhirekeha Kurunandana shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, where he states that the perfection of the life of the disciple is to imbibe, understand, and serve the mood and mission of his spiritual master. So how do we do that? How do we do that? By paying attention to the instruction. First, we have to actually study and understand and absorb the instruction. Because instruction is not something external, is not something stereotype, but it is actually something very profound. Just like when the spiritual master says, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. It may sound simplistic, right? It may sound like something very simple. But how often do we divert from this profound instruction? Whoa. Let's read the translation. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 2262 states, Shraddha Shabde Vishwash Kohe Shudrida Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krito Hoy. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruit of activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, are you awake in Krishna consciousness? Yes, we're all trying to be awake. He need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student, and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna. And one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. Yasya prasadhat bhagavat prasadho yasya prasadhan nagati kutopi dhyayang stuvangs tasya shastastri sandyam Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindaam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day, and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body. not theoretically but practically. When there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities, one who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. It is also stated, Brahmachari Gurukuler Vansandantu Guroritam Acharanda Savanicho Gurau Sudrida Sauridaha, that one should voluntarily control one's senses and mind, and live in the place of the spiritual master in a mood of firm friendship and serve the spiritual master. Now, sometimes that mood of firm friendship can become challenged, or it can become jeopardized by our own obstinacy and our own false ego. Has it ever happened to you that you had friends who told you things you didn't want it to hear or you didn't want it to do, and it challenged, it tested your friendship because you were not so compliant with their desire? One time I was in Villa Vrindavan in Italy near Florence, and I just brought the suitcase of my spiritual master into the room, and I arranged it next to the desk, and he just motioned with his hand, turn it the other way around. And then he looked back at me and he smiled and he said, "You know, I'm supposed to teach you." And then he laughed. Because sometimes teaching older students is difficult. Because they become a little stubborn. They become a little set in their own ways. And they think, no, it's okay, like I know already what I need to do. So, when we get corrected, when we get rebuked, when we get chastised, this is actually mercy. Just like Dr. Patel in Juhu, he would always go on morning walk with Prabhupada. And you hear him arguing. And he was, in his heart of hearts, he was a bhakta. He was very attached and devoted to Srila Prabhupada. But externally, it appeared like he was a Paka Mayavadi. And he was giving all kinds of arguments. And Prabhupada would smash him and slash his arguments and defeat him. But Dr. Patel would never budge an inch from Prabhupada's lotus feet. He was so attached to Prabhupada, and he would always stick with Prabhupada. In fact, the early admirers and supporters and followers of Prabhupada in India, for the most part, they never got initiated by him. Because they already had family gurus, they already had sampradayas, they already had all these kind of things. But in their heart of hearts, Prabhupada was their Shiksha guru. They were fully sold out to Prabhupada. And they helped the movement to a very great extent. So who is a true disciple? It is not somebody who waves the flags, who gets the t-shirt, who shows up for the big festival and jumps around. But it is a person who is there Monday morning when it's time to take out the trash, when it's time to clean up, when it's time to actually carry forward the mission of the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, he was not involved in the great turmoil that besieged the Gaudiya Math after the passing of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because he said that there were two fractions and they were both fighting over who could be the Acharya, who could be the leader. But because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted a governing body commission, he did not want one person to be the person who would lead the institution. He wanted to have a governing body commission. He said, because they disobeyed the order of the spiritual master, that's why they became useless. All of them. And he was not, you have to make it bigger, otherwise we can't read it. If you want to show us something, show us in bigger font. So, Srila Prabhupada was not a prominent player in the Gaudiya Math, even though he was there, but he became the person who brought Krishna consciousness to the West and all over the world. So here, one of Srila Prabhupada's friends in Bombay, Dr. Patel, had been born in a Vaishnava family and followed Vaishnava principles of purity, but he often talked like an impersonalist. And when Prabhupada would accuse him of being a Mayavadi, he would beg to defer. No, sir, I'm a Vaishnava. So he always became upset when Prabhupada would speak very strongly, because Prabhupada would criticize, he would smash the impersonalist views. And Dr. Patel, being a gentleman and a scholar, he would say, no, you can't speak like that. You can't use such harsh words. You can't use such hard language. But Prabhupada, like in the Gita verse that we just read before, he was very strong in making the point that anyone who is trying to divert people from surrendering to Krishna is actually a demon. Now you can be a scholar, you can be a professor, you can be the president of the country, but if you're trying to divert people from surrendering to Krishna, that is demoniac. So at this point we'll take a little pause here from the monologue, give you guys a break. Maybe have some reflections, some observations, some questions. We have some microphones here. Yes, Harinam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I really appreciate your sincerity and how honest you are about what your experiences were with your spiritual master. And what really touched me is how you're explaining that the inner circle of these great souls, or at least your experience, is that you don't get a lot of attention. But what dawned on me actually is that inner circle, there's an infinite amount of room there. If you want to be there, no one's excluded. And in the material world, that doesn't exist. It's like we can see the leaders of the world. What's their inner circle? It's very, very, very small.
G5 through G8,
just
G3.
Whatever. Yeah. And so, and it's really wonderful that I can aspire for a position there. So thank you for sharing that so wonderfully.
Thank you. Well, we're all aspiring for being part of that inner circle, because again, it's not a membership. The price is really our sincerity and our aspiration, and also our realization that we're utterly unqualified. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. It was very nice, whatever till we have reached your realizations. One thing, when I just entered, you were talking about, do you feel sometime that if I earn little bit more, I'll be able to better serve Krishna? And we were saying this, somehow I felt that you were looking at me, and when I went out, you said, I'm not looking at him when I'm saying, but I'm saying...
not looking at anybody. Looking at the sky.
But although I felt that, it was for me. But on a serious note, we sometimes feel that, if I little bit earn more, I'll be able to serve Krishna better. But that satiation is not coming. So thank you for that point.
Hare Krishna. Mara Govinda Prabhu, welcome back. How was your 2 days of traveling Sankirtan?
It was quite an adventure.
2 or 3 days? How many days?
2 days.
2 days.
I came back last night.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome back. I thought you take off for 2 weeks, but after 2 days you're already back.
Progression from 1 to 2 days. Thank you for the class, Prabhu. I like the way you're explaining about Vapu and Vani, how we need to be connected. So how do we develop more attachment for Vani? Although we understand that Vani is what we are meant to be attached to, but it's very natural for us to be there right in the front when Vapu is there, to take association and all. Because we as individual beings, we have a tendency of seeking for attention and appreciation, especially when it comes to spiritual master and advanced Vaishnavas. How do we come out of that?
Well, first we have to understand what is intimacy. We think intimacy is physical proximity, but that's not true. Prabhupada said, the closest to me is the mosquito, and it's disturbing. So we don't want to be a blood-sucking mosquito who is just, there taking up space. But to actually connect closely in intimacy, unity in purpose is the greatest form of intimacy that exists. It's not physical proximity. Sometimes, have you ever been on a local train or on a bus in India? There's a lot of physical proximity, but there is no intimacy because the minds are apart. You're not connected with these people. Even though you're, in somebody's armpit and you're really close to all the sights and smells, but you're not intimate. So first we have to understand what is intimacy. Otherwise we'll aspire for the wrong thing. Like people just want to always be in the front, but it's not such a great view, Actually, if you want to have a good view, you should be in the back, because then you really get the best view. And to really understand the difference and how it all works, we have to hear from the right person for a very long time and absorb ourselves in the instruction and implement it, execute it. Then we will actually realize that there's a great taste and a great level of intimacy and a great level of bonding that happens that cannot be explained just by words, that you have to actually experience yourself when you engage in that service. One time I was in Jagannath Puri assisting my spiritual master at a Samadhi installation ceremony, and the worst thing that can ever happen to a servant happened. And what is that? It's the master is gone and you don't know where he is. So I looked around and he was gone. He just was not to be found. And I felt like, Indra looking for Brihaspati. Now, where's my guru? Like I'm supposed to serve him, but he's gone. So I looked all around the mat. He wasn't there. I went out to the Grand Road, and the driver with the car was still there. And he said, yeah, Gurudev, he walked back to the hotel, but he left the car for you to ride back to the hotel. And I felt very bad. But I realized this verse, Nridehamadyam sulabham sudgurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadaram mayanukulena nabasvateritam pumam bhavaptim nataretsa atmaha. That when you take shelter in the instructions of the spiritual master, that is the boat that will carry you over the ocean of birth and death. And only by Guru Karnadharam, by hearing attentively the instructions from the Lotus Master, the spiritual master, that is the fee, the entry fee to enter that boat. And then you can cross over the ocean. So he left behind the vehicle for his inattentive disciple to catch up with him, while he already walked in the middle of the summer of the blazing sun in Puri on Grand Road back to the hotel. So the guru is ready to take personal inconvenience in order to benefit his disciple. He's not seeing the disciple as an instrument for his sense gratification, for his self-aggrandizement, for his prestige, for his financial gain, or his project's benefit. But he is seeing, what does this person need? So that level of intimacy is unlimited. It goes... There's no limitation in that. And it is something that has to be experienced through the process of bhakti. And every devotee has that experience in one way or the other. When you feel like, yes, this is for real. This is not just, some nice saying, yeah, Krishna is there or Guru is there. No. Is actually a fact. And you can be guided. Like Arjuna, he was guided by Krishna, who was actually guiding his chariot. The human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature, although it is a very rare achievement. This human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat, having the spiritual master as the captain, and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable winds impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. I don't know if that helps. Yes.
Thank you. Actually, commenting on what you have said about the time that you have to dedicate to Krishna, what comes after, because 24 hours or 12 hours per day. And I see a similarity of when people say, okay, sometime I work, sometime I do what I like. And if people like their job, they are not actually working because they do what they like anyway. And I was taking this further, if you can do at the same time something that you like, something that you work for, and something that pleases Krishna at the same time, and should really be this our outcome, and how is possible that then not all of us can do these three things at the same time, actually?
It's possible, but living in this world and facing the job reality that many of us here are facing, it might be difficult, but if we don't see it as a job, but we see it as a part of our devotional service, then it is quite possible. Just like Arjuna, he said, I don't like this, I don't like this killing business, and everyone's going to be dead, and there's no one there, and what's the glory? What's the fun in this? But Krishna told him, no, this is your duty, and you'd have to do it for me. So in the same way, you can be a techie in Silicon Valley, or you can be in any profession. If you see, I'm not doing this for my own prestige or financial gain, but I'm doing this to render devotional service to Krishna, then it takes a whole new dimension. You still have to find your work-life balance, and you still have to chant your rounds, chant Hare Krishna, and read the Bhagavatam, and not think, oh, now because I have this more profound vision, now I can work 24 hours, because it's all for Krishna. Because Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yuktahara Viharasya, he also says you should be regulated in your activities of work, recreation, etc. So, the main message, the main concept of Bhagavad Gita is balance. How to find that balance. Now, how do you find balance? Like you're riding a bicycle, right? You still have that bicycle? Good. So, you're riding a bicycle. How do you find balance when you ride a bicycle? I mean, initially you go a little this side, you go a little that side, right? But by just going on and pushing forward, you actually find your balance, right? When you're a little kid, you have those supporter wheels so you don't fall off, right? So, in the same way, we have to become regulated in our habits. And that's why we have this process of sadhana bhakti. That we rise early, we take bath, we follow these, rules of cleanliness, of regulative principles, which will help you to become regulated so you can have that balance. Otherwise, if a person is in the mode of passion, you can see they're usually out of balance. They're out of balance. Have you ever seen the kids with their muscle cars, run, 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 and then they dash off to the next red light, right? So they go about, like, or in Mumbai on the sea link, it's about 2 or 3 miles, right? In the night, they go and they have car and motorcycle races there, just to justify why they spend, 1.2 crores on a car. So, balance is important. We can get that balance only if we're following the discipline and if we're associating with people who are balanced in their life. Otherwise, you may not even notice, because some people think it's normal to work 12 hours. Some people think, it's okay, I get free food at a cafeteria. Let me just live here. You know some people who live in their office? You do. I know, it's scary, right? They just don't leave. They think this is better than home, When I get home, I have all these people and, everybody wants something from me, and here, it's perfect, It's like everything is perfectly protected and there's no disturbance and I can actually get the job done, you know. But the question then comes, what is the job? What is the job? Why are we here? Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire. Why am I here? What is the purpose of the human form of life? It's not to just tick off boxes or to acquire wealth or all these things. The purpose of the human form of life is self-realization. Is to understand who am I and what is God and how can I reunite myself with Krishna. So, work on your balance, and that takes the school of practice, and it takes guidance. So we should always take guidance. That's what a spiritual master is. He's a spiritual teacher, a spiritual guide. He can guide us. He can show us the way. Why? Because he has gone the path. He's speaking from realization. It's not an abstract, a theoretical process. Google Maps is not going to help you. You have to actually have someone who has walked the path and who can show you. And these people are available. They're available. And what is the price? The price is sincerity, that we actually submit ourselves. And in a humble spirit of inquiry and of service attitude, we inquire. And then we can actually make spiritual advancement. It is possible. Like you can see, you've been associating with Krishna consciousness now for a couple of years, and you're reading and you're chanting and you're doing a few things. So you can see there's been some progress, right? You've done the laboratory experiment. You may not be able to see. We may not be able to see because we're not very objective. But others can see. That's why it says that the spiritual master, he knows the disciple. So we should never think, oh, Gurudev doesn't know me, he doesn't understand me, he doesn't care about me, because he has so many disciples. Because he's connected to Krishna, and Krishna is in the heart, and Krishna will tell him, this fellow is like this fellow is like that. This is what he needs. It's got the internal connection. And we have many times experienced that. Many times experienced that. We don't want to get into too many personal details and stories. I think we already shared a couple of things just because it's part of the topic and it's kind of the subject that we wanted to speak about today. But it is very real and it is very progressive. Does that help? Thank you for showing up again. I was missing you. Well, I haven't been here for 18 months either, so were you here last year? 2016? Okay. All right. Other points?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, are you able to hear me?
Online, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam, all good Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol, Mukravinda Prabhu, Dandavat.
I'm just jumping in my seat somehow. I'm not able to come to the temple, but thank you so much for sharing such a relevant
I know you're always there. You're one of the stalwarts, always present.
Just some points I like the whole class, but actually the amazing thing that I was reading just the same section, so I was overjoyed to again that you are here. You are also reading when you read that. Oh wow, it's something I heard just now. And the point that you said about little attention, it's really a very very amazing point. Thank you for clarifying. And one personal thing, actually, Maharaj shared a few I think months ago with us that how you just followed your spiritual master instruction. He told you to just preach in San Francisco, and I know that how it went through all the process from last 2 years, and then you made sure that you came here to just fulfill his desire. So thank you so much for not just telling but also role modeling that what you're saying. So we are very happy that you are amongst us to show us the path. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
And I had one question. Is that okay? I can check.
Sure, please.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So probably in the same section, like in the verse number 48, I was reading. I could not understand what this means. So I'll just read in the phrase. It says that the bona fide disciple should always remember that his entire understanding of Vedic knowledge is coming through the mercy of his bona fide spiritual master. If one superficially or whimsically accept and reject a bona fide Vaishnava spiritual master, sometimes becoming attracted to another spiritual master, one commits a Vaishnava aparadh, a great offense against the devotee of the Lord. So I could not understand sometime becoming attracted to another spiritual master. Practically in our ISKCON society, we have like Shiksha Gurus and Deeksha Gurus. So what this actually refers to, that we can't get attracted to another Shiksha Guru, or I just wanted some clarification to my understanding.
48. Which verse you were talking about?
48.
48.
It is in the second paragraph. 48 is just in the same chapter, 48.
Okay, second
We go a little
paragraph.
down.
Second paragraph of purport. We have to go down, scroll down. Okay, so
One Paul. Yeah.
from where onwards should we read?
The bona fide disciple should
Okay,
always remember.
I'll read
that
it
his
just
entire
so that
understanding-
everybody can
Yeah.
hear. The bona fide disciple should always remember that his entire understanding of Vedic knowledge is coming through the mercy of his bona fide spiritual master. If one superficially or whimsically accepts and rejects a bona fide spiritual master, sometimes becoming attracted to another spiritual master, one commits a Vaishnava aparadh, a great offense against the devotees of the Lord. Sometimes a foolish neophyte mistakenly thinks that the relationship with the spiritual master is meant for the sense gratification of the disciple, and therefore in the name of spiritual aspirations, such a fool gives up a bona fide Vaishnava Guru. One should understand oneself to be the eternal servant of the Guru. Srila Jiva Goswami, etc. Then it goes on. So, yeah, I got it. So the point you were asking about is, what is the proper understanding of Deeksha Guru and Shiksha Guru, and how can we put these in context with this quote of this purport? Yeah. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah. So oftentimes the understanding is not really clear about what is Guru, because Guru is one. Krishna is Adi Guru. He is the original spiritual master. And through the spiritual masters, he is giving the same message. So if somebody thinks, no, I don't want the message from this person, I want the message from that person, but it's the same message. So why are you running from this one to that one? Like oftentimes Prabhupada would say, in regards, when he told the first disciples to initiate, he said, just get initiated by the closest person, by whoever is closest to you. It's a practical thing. Like sometimes people choose a guru who is on the other side of the planet, It's not very practical. How much will you see him? How much will he see you? How much training will you receive? But because we're in this bigger family of ISKCON, actually speaking, it's not so important or even relevant who is your Deeksha Guru, because Srila Prabhupada is the primary Shiksha Guru for all members of this society. And any true follower of Srila Prabhupada is actually giving the same Shiksha, the same instruction that is coming down from Srila Prabhupada. If somebody comes and says, hey, I got something new, I figured out something really new, and then you should go, okay, whoa, like, can you please go and speak to Swarup Damodar first, and show to him what you got, and if it's authorized, then I will look at it, but otherwise, I don't want something new. So, but this tendency is there. It's called monkey jumping. People want to jump around. They think the grass is greener, the fruits are better, the cakes are bigger, the festivals are nicer, whatever. There's more incentives, the bonus package is better. I get a better deal if I go over there, But that is a very mundane and a very materialistic type of understanding. So, of course, anybody can jump, but he's still a monkey. So we should not subscribe to such type of foolishness. Otherwise, we will make great offenses against these spiritual teachers. We do see in our line that sometimes the Shiksha gurus were more prominent than the Deeksha gurus. But the disciple is always very careful to be respectful and to be appreciative of all the different types of spiritual masters, because that is culture, that is etiquette. So, in the same way, it can happen that a Shiksha guru is more prominent than the Deeksha guru, but because there is no discord or there is no contradiction between the teachings of the Shiksha and Deeksha guru inside our ISKCON society, there should not be any problem. Of course, the etiquette is that we get the blessings of our Deeksha guru before we officially accept Shiksha gurus. So there is some etiquette involved in this process. Just like to give you an example. My Deeksha guru is Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He has asked me to come and serve here in the Bay Area and try to get something going in San Francisco. So for me, that means serving under His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, who is also my primary Shiksha guru. So that is understood. That is already, it's a package deal. It's already part of the plan. It's already part of the vision and the mission. But because our mind sometimes is small-minded, and we think, no, I'm part of this group, I'm part of that group, I can only work with these people, I can work with those people, he's a roti wala, and I'm a rice guy, and we just, it just don't work, Like I eat pasta, he eats chili, no go, right? Not compatible operating systems, right? I'm a Mac, or I'm a PC, or whatever. But if you understand, we're all actually, this is bhakti. We're all striving to please Krishna. And there is room for individuality. And Krishna likes variety. Krishna likes variety. He's not stereotyped. He's not just, one shoe size fits all. He has all different kinds of devotees. We have all different kinds of very eccentric and very exotic types of tastes and natures. But we shouldn't make up stuff just because we're whimsical. But the nature of the materialistic mind is to always see contradictions and to always see incongruities, things that don't match and things that don't add up. And therefore, we short circuit and our pea brain gets fried, our fuse gets blown, and we get into this dead-end street where we think, oh, how can I advance? So, what is the solution? To actually study our tradition and to see how congenial the Vaishnava Sangha was in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was all kinds of gurus. There was all kinds of different backgrounds, culturally, socially, economically, all different types of lineages also. But they all came together. And everything got unified under the banner of Harinam Sankirtan. So if we have the actual intention of pleasing Krishna through this process of Harinam Sankirtan, then all these details, even seemingly contradictory or opposing details, will become resolved through this process of Harinam Sankirtan. So that is what is hinted at in this purport, what I'm trying to explain. I hope that helps to some extent.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, it helps.
Hare Krishna.
Really. Hare Krishna.
So another point that I would like to talk about is one second, we'll be with you in a minute. Yes, life after initiation. What is life? Pranachar se hetu prachar. If you have a life, you're a preacher. If you don't have preaching spirit, you don't have life. So to be alive, to have a life, like, they say in America, get a life, like go do something. You have to be connected to this preaching mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because just to maintain our physical existence is not a very glorious and is not a very worthwhile endeavor. Because there is no glory in it. There is no uniqueness in it. It's not spectacular. Oftentimes when we're on campus and we're talking to young students, I ask them, so what is your goal? What are your aspirations? And they always say, make the world a better place and give back to the community and take care of the family. But what do they actually mean? If you boil it down. Self-centered. It's selfishness. Maybe a little extended selfishness, but selfishness nonetheless. Even if someone is concerned about humanity, now that's pretty big, right? Like they want to go into law enforcement. I want to make policy. I want to change things. Okay. Why? For humanity. Or I want to do social work. I want to help children. I want to help sick people. But it's just extended selfishness. What about the animals? What about the plants? So Krishna consciousness really means seeing the bigger picture, seeing things in context. So there's so many good causes in this world, but there's one great cause. Kalerdhosanidhe rajanasti heko mahadgunat kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param brajet. Simply by this chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All these good causes are included, and they're actually achieved by the Sankirtan process. Now someone might say, how can you say that? That is so simplistic. You religious fanatics, you think you got the solution for all the problems. How will this fix the rent increase? How will this fix the gentrification? How will this fix all these problems that we're facing that are even too innumerable and too overwhelming to mention? How will it fix it? It's very simple how it will fix it. It addresses the core problem right at its root. And what is the core problem? Ishvaroham aham bhogi. I am the controller and I am the enjoyer. I ask everybody, so do you already own a company or a country or the space between your ears? Or are you still a humble servant of humanity or of the matrix? And you'll be surprised. People, it really makes them think a little bit. Do I think I'm the owner or do I think I am the servant? It's really a tough one because people have to say it, When you make someone say something, like they make him, okay, how do you plead? Okay, guilty or non-guilty? You have to say it, Do you want to be the controller or do you want to be the servant? That is the question. And that question we have to ask ourselves. And that is why this Sankirtan process and the chanting of Hare Krishna is the solution, because it curbs the tendency of false proprietorship and of trying to control, manipulate, and enjoy the material world and seeing anything separate from the Lord. And when we realize that actually there is nothing separate from Krishna, then material energy stops to exist. It ceases to exist. And that means such a person will try to mold their lives according to the desire, the instruction of the spiritual master. And by doing so, they will actually understand all the import of the Vedic scriptures. Yasyadeve parabhaktir yathadeve tathagurauta saite katita hirta prakashante mahatmanaha. And they will get that realization of the great teachers by pleasing them and following in their footsteps. Do we have other questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu. Microphone, please.
Prabhu, you mentioned that in the context of extended self, I get that if you extend the self towards nation, anything, it's an extended self. But you also mentioned, what about plants? So I'm not following. How does the plant concept fit in the realm of extended self?
The plan? Which plan?
Plant.
Plant. Yeah. How does it fit? Yeah. Well, we're always excluding something because our perception of what's important to us is always limited because we're limited. And unless and until we actually include Krishna, who is Om Purnamadak Purnamidam, who is the source of everything, we've still, like you meet these humanists, or you'll meet these, animal lovers, or these, people who care about the environment and the planet. But then, when you bring up the point of God, they say, no, everybody, but not him. It's so funny, I was distributing a book to a family, they were both poets. And then she opened up the Gita, and she read Krishna saying in the 10th chapter, I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. She said, who is this I? I want to know who is this I, right? So you can see immediately, like, people are like, who is that person? I put it in context and, like, you are the sunshine and that is the sun, you're always connected, same quality but different quantity. Okay, that's fine, But people have such an aversion. Have you ever noticed that? When you speak about God or Krishna, people have such an aversion because they feel as competitors. They're envious. There's envy there. And to us it's evident, it's obvious, but people will not admit it. They'll say, no, I'm a good person. I'm helping the animals, I'm helping the kids, I'm helping the women, the old people, this and that. But what about all the other people? What about the regular folks? Why are you not worried about them? Huh? Now, if someone is a fascist liberal, he's still a fascist. So, that's why even extended self-gratification and care is not good enough, even if you extend it to the plants and, to the planet. Well, now people want to go to Mars. It's just another hoax. It's just another gimmick, to get a little more funding. But devotee is not looking for excuses. Because we understand only sweet surrender is actually what will hit the spot, what will actually give satisfaction and meaning to our lives. Now, oftentimes, we invest a lot of energy to attract newcomers. You may have noticed. We go on book distribution, we do Harinam, we preach, we distribute books, we do so many things. But how much energy do we spend to maintain the devotees that are already there? Because we think, they're already initiated, Like, they're already initiated, Like, they're old enough. They should just take care of themselves, right? Wrong. How often have you heard that, I feel neglected, I feel, does my guru still love me? Does he still know me? Does he care about me? Maybe he doesn't even know my name. Well, how many names can you remember? Some days I wake up, I don't even remember my name. I used to travel so much, I didn't even know where I was, Because it's just, you lose track. And you have gurus who have 10, 20, 30, 40,000 disciples. You expect them to know all the names? It's just humanly not possible. That doesn't mean he doesn't care for them. But we should also see how we can establish a system of care and counseling and education that is actually working, that people feel, yeah, there is something going on here. I'm actually feeling nourished. I'm actually feeling I'm making advancement. And hopefully in the future, we'll have hundreds and hundreds of Deeksha gurus and thousands of Shiksha gurus of all sorts. Some of them will have 2, 3, 5, maybe 50 disciples. Huh? But that will come, balance will come. We're still young. We still have the little wheels on, and we're still like heavy leaning on one side and, sometimes falling over, and Momsy has to come and put us back on the, on the bicycle. Because we have this fixation of who is a guru and what he has to do and like that. But if you study Shastra, we will get a clearer idea. So, there's different systems we can put in place, but eventually it's all about personal responsibility and personal care. Just like last Sunday, I was standing outside on the parking lot talking with a few friends, and I happened to see one lady, non-Indian, white person, middle-aged, and she was just standing there, and she looked kind of lost. And initially I thought she's waiting for someone, but after like 5 or 7 minutes I realized, no, she's not waiting for someone, she's just confused. So after I was clear that she wasn't waiting for someone to come, I went up to her, and it turns out this is the first time that she's here. And she didn't know what was going on, because she just say a bunch of wild kids, running around, going wild and crazy on the parking lot, and a bunch of people standing around talking, and a bunch of people eating, and, so she didn't know what's going on here, And there was no one there to tell her. So I welcomed her, I greeted her, I brought her inside, and showed her what's going on here. So it would really be good to have somebody there. And not just when we distribute books, or just, where you park your car, or this is the temple, but also later on, that there are systems and there are people who are, because the systems are only as good as the people who actually implement them. As you all know, you have so many Google groups and so many WhatsApp groups and so many committees and meetings, but how much gets done? That all depends on the actual quality and responsibility of the people who take these things seriously. Otherwise, it just creates more noise and more, chatter and more electrosmog, more pollution in the airwaves. Huh? But the systems can be used to serve people, to help them in their process of bhakti. And that means I'm taking responsibility for whoever is in my circle, in my group, in my proximity, and starting with myself, that I live an honest life, that I invest time and energy into devotee friendships, and I share my heart, and I take counsel and guidance, and I try to help others. And that is what is explained here when it says that we make friends and we help juniors and we, develop affection and respect and serve seniors. And in this way, all these, this is called community. In this way, naturally, this fabric gets strengthened. So people don't feel disconnected and left out and lost and, oh, I don't know if this is my people. Maybe I should become a ... something else, because there, people really got something good going. Huh? Or they give me more attention there. Huh? So we have to find a balance between tender loving care and tender loving neglect. Huh? Rather err on the side of a little too much care than of too much neglect. Like sometimes you think, yeah, just leave it, it will take care of itself. No, it won't. You have to actually give it the attention it deserves. So this is just a humble reminder and request to all of us to invest a little time and energy to be available and accessible for others, just like Srila Prabhupada was available and accessible, even though he was very busy in his manifold duties of managing this International Society for Krishna Consciousness and preaching and traveling the world and writing all these books. But every day, for 2 hours, his door was open. People could come in, sit down, and talk to him. Full undivided attention. Are we giving 2 hours a day to nourish others in their Krishna consciousness? Are we giving 20 minutes? Are we available? So, by finding out ways to make ourselves available and accessible to others, we can actually nourish them in Krishna consciousness. Because unless that feeling of nourishment and of love and trust is evoked in the heart, there is no real relationship. It's just a concept in the mind. There's no substance there. So let us put in that effort. And Krishna is giving himself to the devotees who are not claiming any sense of proprietorship in this world and are seeing that the Lord's interest is my primary interest. And in this way, we can actually achieve real intimacy with the spiritual master by unity of purpose, and we can receive empowerment. And our capacity can grow unlimitedly. Initially, we may be a 5 watt, we may be a little bulb. But as Vaisheshika Prabhu always says, you may be a little shot, but if a little shot keeps on shooting, one day he becomes a big shot. So just keep on doing what you're doing, and it will have incremental impact, compound interest. Like in savings, they say just start today, right? But some people just don't have any financial management. So they always spend more than they have. And I'm not looking at anybody. It's just, they never have money because they just can't keep it. And some people, although they don't make much, but because they never really live beyond their means, they always have enough. So in the same way, manage your time, manage your energy, manage your life wisely, and try to find that work-life service balance. Even if you may not be able to do 12 hours here at the temple, but make it a point, okay, I will be present for the 3 programs that are there at ISV, either by coming physically here or by listening to the pravachan. I will go on Sankirtan once a month. I will cook 1 offering. I will change Prabhupada's cloth. I will give this much. I will do this. I will be available. I want to be of service. Why? Because it is my right. I want to do this. Because I need it. Because service is intimacy. There is no other form of intimacy. So, when we meditate on these points, then we realize there is a life after initiation. And it's a good life. And it continues for a very long time. So, never feel disenfranchised or dejected or disappointed or misunderstood because, Gurudev didn't see me. He looked the other way. He just avoided me. I've heard all these different things, and we have maybe even experienced all these different things in our own mind because, a mind is a mind. I also have a mind who makes up all this stuff, and you come up with some pretty interesting things. But we have to understand that the compassion of the spiritual master is real, and it is very profound, and is actually unlimited, because Lord Nityananda, who is the original spiritual master, He has taken mercy and compassion even on the most wretched and fallen living entities like Jagan Madai. So, if we introspect and acquire a particle of humility by becoming more aware of our real situation, then we can actually invoke the attraction and mercy of the spiritual master. And that relationship can grow and expand, and it becomes very attractive for others when they see that there is something real going on here. And it's not just two people who are trying to exploit each other in order to satisfy their own senses. Thank you for your kind attention, for being present, for showing up, and for making the effort. It is much appreciated. Srila Prabhupada ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanande, Hari Hari Bol.
His Grace Navinda Nirada Prabhu ki.
Hare Krishna.